have a story for you today that will make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Banks are completely out of control, and their increasingly disturbing behavior is rising in line with things like digital ID, digital currency, and a social credit system coming in like a freight train. The three examples we'd like to show you today out of the countless examples online come out of Australia. The first story is about a woman who goes by Mantra Moments on Facebook. In a video posted to Facebook, she says she purchased a very small amount of crypto. She said she's done this before and the bank put a temporary hold on her account, and after they, I suppose, did whatever checks they do, the transaction went through without any issues. But this time, when she purchased another small amount of crypto from the same place as before, the bank refused to unfreeze her account. So she went into the bank, and here is what follows that visit. This was shared by Cafe Locked Out on X. Take a listen.
Anyway, cut a long story short, they had to call head office or wherever it is, and they eventually got me on the phone and started asking me all these questions, including my Facebook, my WhatsApp, what groups I'm in, etc., etc. And of course, I'm like, I'm not going to give them all that information. I'm just like, I'm in heaps groups. In fact, I had to actually delete my WhatsApp the other day because it was too full. So, lots of groups. And then they wanted to know if I was in any crypto groups. And I said, oh, yeah, but I never get on them because I just haven't got the time. There's too much stuff to look at. So, oh, yeah, no worries. They said, well, how'd you find out about this crypto? Was it online or was it on Facebook or was it on WhatsApp or whatever? I said, no, just through a friend. Oh, what's your friend's name? I said, well, I'm not going to tell you what my friend's name is. Yeah, what's your friend's name? I said, well, I'm not telling you that. That's private information. Well, are they involved with this crypto? I said, I'm not going to tell you that either. That's their private financial information. And, fair enough, they said. So they continued with all these questions that were just none of their business, to be honest. And then they went back to ask me about my friend. And I said, look, I am not telling you. That is private information. And I'm not telling you about her finances. That is private information. She simply showed me what to do on the computer because I don't know how to do it.
So after questioning her about her friend, the teller goes away, perhaps to speak to a superior, I guess, and listen to the reason he tells her the bank will not give this woman access to her own money.
So he comes back after quite some time and says, oh, well, you won't tell us who your friend is and you won't give us that information. So you're restricted. Your restriction stays for 2 more days. I said, I beg your pardon? They said, yeah, it stays for 2 more days and then you ring us back. I said, hang on a minute here. Are you telling me because I won't disclose someone else's private information to you that you're going to restrict my account for another 2 days until I come back and go through all this again? And they said, yes. And then they said, and we advise you not to speak to her again, to your friend. I said, what? We're keeping you safe. They use the safe narrative. And fans saying that to us.
She finishes the video by explaining that her ability to pay her rent and bills is now not possible because she won't tell the bank who her friend is, who she says she's known for years, by the way, and give them private financial information about this friend. And the bank is advising her to no longer speak to her friend. They say they're keeping her safe. What kind of beyond Orwellian nightmare are we stepping into here? The second story relates to a woman who tried to withdraw money to pay contractors working on her house. Take a listen.
Okay, I'm bloody furious right now. I just left the bank, CBA, and I went to withdraw $8,500. The lady at the teller goes, what's the purpose of your withdrawal? I said, I'm building. And she goes, okay, fine. She gave me my money and I go, next week I want to withdraw another $20,000 cash. And she goes, okay, you can place the order, because I know larger amounts of cash withdrawals you need to order in advance. And she goes, again, what's the purpose of your withdrawal? I go, I'm building. And she goes, okay, do you have invoices? I go, no, I don't have invoices because I haven't paid them, obviously, but I have quotes. And she goes, okay, make sure you bring your quotes. And I was like, okay, but what if I don't have quotes? And she goes, then you won't be able to withdraw your money. She basically said, you have to give us proof or a reason. I go, I've given you a reason. I'm building and I like to pay my tradies in cash. And she goes, yeah, that's not good enough. We need proof. I go, okay, hang on a minute. What if I just want to withdraw $10,000 to go to the casino tomorrow night and just have a great night, go to a fine dining restaurant, buy myself Louboutins and a Chanel bag, and, you know, spend all my money, gamble it away. You know, I go, it's my money. I can do whatever I want. And then she looks at the lady next to her at the teller, and then that lady, you know, she steps in and she goes, we wouldn't be able to give you $10,000 if you were going to the casino. I go, why not? And she goes, there's a lot of scams out there and we just need to protect you from being reckless. I was just dumbfounded. I was like, excuse me? I go, it's my money. I can flush it down the toilet if I like. I go, so what's the limit? What's the maximum I can withdraw without proof and without invoices or whatever? And she goes, well, you can withdraw $2,000 at the ATM and $2,000 at a teller. So maximum $4,000 a day, no questions asked. I go, so anything over $4,000, they need a reason. I go, well, I've given you a reason. I'm building. And she goes, yeah, but if that large amount of money, $20,000, we're going to need invoices or quotes or proof. I was just, I go, what if I just want to buy a Rolex? And she goes, well, we need the invoice. I go, well, the freaking Rolex is not going to give me an invoice if I haven't purchased it. I was like, what?
We're keeping you safe. The classic line of power-tripping governments and those working in cahoots with them, aka big banks, steadily progressing towards a system where you can only access your money for what they say you can. Let me tell you what's happening here. They are getting the population used to the terms of a digital ID, digital currency, and social credit system. The three go hand in hand, and that is why banks suddenly feel empowered to tell you who you can and can't be friends with and what you can and can't do with your money. But right now, you still have the opportunity to argue with them. The author of that video is Cherry Cups Co. on Instagram. Her video went viral, and the bank, CBA, one of the major banks in Australia, had to respond because they were exposed. So she later explains they gave her access to her money in the end. Wow, what a feat. I get to access my money. Once a digital ID and digital currency and social credit system is implemented, there's no one to argue with anymore. In fact, if you make a video like that go viral, you will likely be penalized rather than get an apology or compromise from the beast system. Finally, and this story comes to us from the Daily Mail, Aussie locked out of her bank account for a second time in months without an explanation. There's something wrong. It says Katie McMaster, 36, had to visit an HSBC branch in Melbourne last week to verify her identity. There's a key point there. We'll talk about that in a moment. After she was locked out of her personal accounts. She'd switched from her previous bank, ING, in June after a similar issue left her unable to access her money for 2 days after her account was suspended. She initially thought it was a technical issue. She called the bank and learned that her account had been flagged for fraud. And you go down to see that she received no notification from the bank about any suspicious activity, no suspicious transactions actually. She was advised that she needed to go into a branch and verify her identity with 100 points of ID, and that they couldn't tell her why the restrictions had been put on. So she goes into the branch, gives them her 100 points of ID, they add it to her account, and then they said that she needs to wait 2 to 3 business days for a response from HSBC. She said again, they couldn't tell me as to why the restrictions were taking place, only that I had to wait a while they investigated. She says that this is the personal account that only receives her monthly salary and was used for her everyday transactions. She says, guys, I'm just a regular girl in Melbourne. The only bulk income payment is my salary from my job that I've been at for almost 3 years. Same employer, same bank account, always paying monthly. The outgoings are just my mortgage, my bills and expenses for the cost of living, the occasional restaurant or bar here and there, and my phone bill. Well, Katie McMaster, I can tell you why this keeps happening to people. Not just you, it's happening all around the world. It's called Know Your Customer. sold to everyone as protecting people from fraud and things of this nature, but serves as a vehicle to impose new rules and regulations onto financial institutions like the 100 points of ID rule, which is a way of conditioning people to accept their digital ID being linked to their bank account. Do you know how I know this? Because this exact situation happened to someone very close to me, and I reported it was coming to everyone else about 2 years ago. When this person went into the bank, the teller openly told them that this was related to digital ID and all banks would be doing it soon. At the time, they said it didn't matter that that person had already provided their ID, their 100 points of ID, and had been with that bank for more than 2 decades. It was about a number on the back of their driver's license, which would somehow eventually be linked to their digital ID. We'd suggest everyone goes and looks at the current updates to Know Your Customer to find out what may be coming next. Now, these 3 stories are just a taste of what digital ID and digital currency brings. As someone who's been debanked for my speech previously, and I've told everyone about this before, it is an extremely uncomfortable experience. At the time, I was able to find a new bank, but there will be a time where that option doesn't exist for the violators of either approved speech or approved purchases. This is why digital ID must be stopped dead in its tracks, and we can never allow any form of digital ID to be linked to digital currency. Wake up, or else.